So as we retell the story, my prayer for you is that you would find hope in it, not because of anything that you've done, not because of anything that's going well around you. Let's be honest, 2020 is not the definition of things going well, but because there is a God who loves you and who has been faithful in the past. Hey everybody, my name is Grant and I'm a pastor in Hamilton, Ontario, and today we are talking about Advent and hope. I'm not good at waiting. I'm not. I've never been good at waiting. I have always looked forward in anticipation for what is to come with a sense of urgency. I want what is to come to be here now, and I've always been that way. As a kid, I can remember waiting for things to happen, like, whether it was visiting family like my cousins or going away to camp in the summer, or even just for like the week to be done because I was excited for something on the weekend to happen. Like, I always in my mind would picture being there. What is it going to be like when we arrive? What is it going to be like in a few hours when we get there? What is it going to be like in a few weeks when we get there? What is it going to be like when this season of life is done? And because I was always excited about what was to come. I was always excited about what was next. And there are many benefits to that, but one of the big problems is that I often find myself on the other side of moments, wishing I'd been a little bit more present in the moment. But we are entering into the season of Advent. We're at the very beginning of Advent. Advent is the season leading up to Christmas. And Advent is all about waiting in anticipation for Christmas. It's about sitting and longing for something to come. Not in a way that wishes it was here tomorrow, but in a way that is very present in the waiting. And that's the invitation during Advent to you and to me. It's to sit in the waiting. It's to sit with the waiting and to look forward to Christmas and to the celebration of Jesus' birth as something that is to come. I don't know if it's just virtue of my profession as a pastor, but again, I often find myself waking up on Boxing Day wondering where Christmas went. And this season, I'm praying that that's different. This season, I am praying to be intentional in my waiting in Advent. Each week in Advent, we celebrate a different theme in the church. And the first week of Advent, we celebrate hope. What is it that we hope for in and with the Christmas message? And hope is a little bit of a difficult concept to understand because I think that most people think of hope as some belief, a positive belief or thought about the future of something that is to come, right? It's a positive mindset toward the future. And one of the major problems with that is that it often has to do with our own mindset or mentality about the present, right? If things are going well, then maybe you're going to have hope that things will continue to go well. If things are not going well now, maybe you won't have hope that things will continue to change or might ever change into the future. And I think like a lot of things, we make one fatal error in how we think and talk about hope. And that is that we become the primary actor, or those around us become the primary actor that determine for us whether or not we experience hope and feel hope as we look toward the future and what might happen. The Bible paints a very different picture of what hope is all about. You see, when we talk about things like hope in the church, we're actually talking about trust. Here's the thing about trust. Human beings kind of have a tendency of being difficult to trust in moments of life. What makes somebody trustworthy? Somebody's trustworthy when they do what they say they're going to do consistently. You can learn to trust that they're going to continue to do what they say they're going to do. Here's the problem about human beings is that we're not always good at following through with doing the things that we say we're going to do when we say we're going to do them. But God's not like that. If faith is about having trust in God in the present, choosing to trust that God is who he says he is and will do the things he says he will do in the present, hope is about extending that trust to the future. Hope is about saying, I don't know what the future is going to hold, but I'm going to choose to trust that God will continue to act. One of the single greatest ways we can trust that God is going to continue to act is by looking at the ways he's acted in the past. And that's one of the reasons why telling and retelling the Christmas story is so integral to your faith as a Christian, if you call yourself a follower of Jesus. It's because it's about telling the story of what God has done in the past. It's about reminding ourselves of where God has been faithful to answer his people and their longing and their waiting in very real ways. See, Jesus' birth wasn't the beginning of God acting in the world. Jesus' birth in many ways was the fulfillment of a longing that generation after generation after generation had for a Messiah, for one to come and rescue the world out of the mess that they continued to trip up in. And so it's very much not a God appears on the scene out of the blue. It's about God answering the cries and the questions and the longings of his people. And it's the way in which God proved that he would remain faithful to the promises that he had made generation after generation after generation. And so as we retell the story, my prayer for you is that you would find hope in it, not because of anything that you've done, not because of anything that's going well around you. Let's be honest, 2020 is not the definition of things going well, but because there is a God who loves you and who has been faithful in the past. 2 challenges for you this Christmas season, again, if you call yourself a follower of Jesus and even not, is to try to tell 2 stories. Try to tell 2 stories to yourself and to others. Retell the story of the birth of Jesus. Just read it. Spend some time in the Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, the accounts of Jesus' life. There are 2 that describe Jesus' birth, Luke and Matthew. And then there are others, Mark and John, that deal with it in different ways. But take some time and read those stories. Remind yourself, or at least allow yourself to contemplate what God has done in the past. Because if God has been faithful in the past, God will be faithful in the future. So tell and retell the story. And number 2, if you call yourself a follower of Jesus, if you've experienced God in any way, if you've experienced something spiritual that you're not quite sure, how it lands or what, was the cause behind, tell those stories to one another. And learn to listen to those stories in other people's lives, because those are the ways in which God wants to remind us that he continues to be faithful in your life and in my life. So hey, here's my prayer for you at the beginning of Advent. It's that you would slow down. So that each week you'd be able to think about these things. Week 1, we're talking hope. And you would allow yourself to tell and to retell these stories of the ways in which God has been and is at work in the world. My prayer for you is that you don't wake up on Boxing Day wondering where Advent and Christmas went. My prayer for you is that you'd be able to be present in the midst of everything that's going on. And my hope is that God would show up this Advent season for you in a very real way to show you that he's still at work in the world. You just have to open your eyes and take a look around. All right, that's it for this Tuesday. I love you, praying for you, and grateful to be celebrating Advent and Christmas together. Again, if you like these videos, make sure to share and subscribe to the channel. Even hit the bell notification, because every week we're going to be talking about a brand new theme in Advent and explore it together.